Have you ever looked at a woman and wondered, does she truly love me, or is this all just comfort, convenience, and circumstance? Most men confuse attention with affection, but love, real, deep, soul-shaking love reveals itself through behavior, not words. Here's the hard truth. A woman will only go to certain lengths, show certain behaviors, and offer rare vulnerabilities for the man she truly loves. Not the man she tolerates, not the man she settles for, but the one she respects and desires. But how can you tell the difference? Today, we're diving deep into 6 things women do only for the men they love, backed by the Stoic wisdom of Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor whose philosophy of resilience and clarity can help us strip away emotional illusions and see love for what it truly is. And before we begin, make sure to subscribe, hit that thumbs up, and stay until the very end, because these insights aren't just about love. They're about power, self-awareness, and emotional clarity. A love letter never written. A story of hidden devotion. A man named Elias once sat across from a woman he'd loved for years. She wasn't loud about her feelings. She didn't flood him with texts or give grand declarations. But slowly, day by day, she began doing things that puzzled him. She cooked when he was too tired to speak. She listened when he didn't know how to explain his thoughts. She defended him when others mocked his ambition. She picked up on his moods before he even noticed them himself. Elias had been with women who claimed to love him, yet vanished at the first sign of struggle. But this woman? She moved through his life like a quiet guardian, never demanding, never dramatic. One night Elias asked, "Why are you always here for me?" She smiled and simply said, "Because you make me feel safe being myself." That's love. And those kinds of behaviors, subtle, powerful, and rare, are what we're breaking down today. 1. She becomes soft in your presence. Have you ever been with a woman who felt like home? Not just someone you dated, but someone whose presence made the chaos of the world fall quiet? If you felt that even once, you'll never forget it. Let me tell you a story. There was a man named Kieran, stoic, quiet, driven. He wasn't the type to open up easily. Life had made him that way. He carried the weight of responsibility, of past failures, of dreams that hadn't quite landed. Then she entered his life, not with fireworks, not with seduction, but with stillness. At first, she didn't seem any different. She laughed at his jokes, texted him goodnight, asked him about his day. The usual things. But over time, he noticed something strange. She would stop mid-sentence and ask, "You okay?" She would lean in when he was silent, not to fill the silence, but to hold space for it. She would rest her head on his chest like it was the safest place she knew. And Kieran, who was used to being the strong one, started to feel something shift. He wasn't just being seen, he was being felt. This woman wasn't performing. She wasn't trying to impress him. She was simply soft around him. That's when he remembered a quote from Marcus Aurelius. The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. Her soul was beginning to dye itself in the color of her feelings for him. And her behavior reflected it. Now let me ask you this. Seriously, take a second. Has there ever been a woman in your life who dropped her guard around you? Who stopped pretending and just was? Think back. Did she curl up next to you on tough days and say nothing, but her presence said everything? Did she laugh from her belly, not from her throat? Did she let you see her silly side? Her sleepy side? Her scared side? If she did, my friend, that wasn't just affection. That was love. Because here's what most men don't realize. Most women walk through the world armored, tough, wary, guarded, not because they want to be, but because they've had to be. But for the man they love, truly love, they become soft. Not weak, soft. It's a strength that says, I trust you enough to be vulnerable. I trust you not to break me. And that is everything. If a woman lets you see her flaws, if she stops trying to be perfect around you, if she's not constantly posing but just being raw, emotional, real, that's a rare gift. And she's not giving it to just anyone. She's giving it to you. So don't miss it. Don't take it for granted. That softness, that tenderness, it's the first language of female love. And if you're lucky enough to see it, hold it gently. Because some of the most beautiful love stories aren't told with grand gestures or loud declarations. They're written in the quiet moments. When a woman feels safe enough to just be herself. 2. She defends you when you're not around. What do people say about you when you're not in the room? More importantly, Who defends you when they do? Because here's a truth most men learn the hard way. A woman can say she loves you to your face, but real loyalty shows when your back is turned. Let me tell you about a man named Daniel. He wasn't flashy. He didn't have the biggest car or the loudest laugh. But what he did have was purpose. He worked hard, kept his promises, and stayed grounded. He was dating a woman named Layla. Beautiful. Yes, but more than that. She was calm, thoughtful. The kind of woman who didn't speak unless it mattered. One night, Daniel was running late to a party she was already at. When he finally arrived, he didn't walk through the front door. He came through the back, quietly. He didn't want to make a scene. That's when he heard it. Two guys were joking, laughing about Daniel's job, saying he'd never make real money and that he tries too hard to be deep. Daniel paused. He waited to hear what would come next. And what came next, he would remember for the rest of his life. Layla, without knowing he was even there, shut the conversation down. Cold. Not with rage, not with drama, but with conviction. She said, "You clearly don't know him. He's one of the most disciplined and honest men I've ever met. And if you can't respect that, maybe you're not someone I need to be friends with." Boom, silence. Daniel hadn't said a word, but his heart heard everything. That moment, that wasn't just love. That was allegiance. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be one." But when a woman truly loves you, she does that arguing for you. She speaks your name with respect even when no one's watching. She shuts down gossip, blocks out shade, and defends your integrity, not to gain points, but because your honor lives inside her now. So I'll ask you, has there ever been a woman who stood up for you when you didn't even ask? Did she defend your dreams when others laughed? Did she tell her family, "He's not perfect, but he's mine and I believe in him"? Did she protect your name when others tried to tear it down? That, my friend, is not common. It's not passive love. It's active loyalty, because women might support a man when he's winning, but the one who speaks for you when you're not there to impress her, she's rare. She doesn't need applause. She doesn't need to post it on Instagram. She defends you because love has turned into honor. And if you find a woman who does that, never let her wonder if it was worth it. Because behind every strong man, there's often a quiet voice, fighting battles he never even knew were happening. And that voice? That's love, not in words, but in action. 3. She adopts your mission as her own. What are you building in your life right now? Is it a dream, a career, a purpose bigger than yourself? Now, the real question, is there a woman beside you who doesn't just support it, but lives it with you? Let me tell you the story of Noah. Noah wasn't rich. He wasn't famous, but he had a vision so clear it kept him awake at night. He wanted to open a youth center in his community, a place where kids could feel safe, learn discipline and grow. But building something from nothing takes grit. It takes time. And more than anything, it takes sacrifice. At first, most people laughed. Some even left. But not her. Her name was Ari. She didn't just say, "That's a nice idea, babe." She rolled up her sleeves and said, "Where do we start?" She didn't chase the spotlight. She helped set up chairs. She didn't ask him to dream smaller. She made his dream hers, too. Noah once told a friend, "She's the only person who doesn't just believe in me. She walks with me." Now pause for a moment. Have you ever had a woman stand beside your mission, not as a spectator, but as a partner in the trenches? Marcus Aurelius said, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." And when a woman loves you, truly loves you, her truth becomes alignment. She doesn't try to change your direction. She doesn't compete with your calling. She aligns her energy with your purpose. Because your success feels like her success too. Let me be clear, this doesn't mean she loses herself. A strong woman in love doesn't give up her identity. She enhances yours with hers. She adds fuel to your fire. She sees who you're becoming and says, "Let me help build that man." Why? Because love, real love, doesn't just feel. It contributes. It collaborates. It invests. Think about it. A woman who's just passing time with you might say, "That's your thing, I don't really get it." But the woman who loves you, she learns the language of your passion. She sits with you on late nights while you're frustrated. She asks how she can help, not because she's bored, but because she believes in your calling. So I ask again, who's building with you right now? Because the woman who adopts your mission, who treats your goals as sacred ground, who shows up even when there's no guarantee of success, she's not just in love with you, she's in love with your future. And when that happens, when a woman chooses to build with you rather than just benefit from your victories, you're no longer walking alone. You've got a teammate, a partner, a co-pilot in your purpose, and that, my friend, is rarer than beauty and deeper than chemistry. That is love with direction. 4. She remembers the details you forgot. Have you ever mentioned something small to a woman, and months later she brought it up again, perfectly remembered? Maybe it was how you take your coffee. Maybe it was the name of your childhood dog, or a random story you told half asleep at 2 a.m. And suddenly, when you'd already forgotten, you said it. She repeats it back to you like it was sacred. That's not coincidence. That's not just being nice. That's love, tender, focused, and deeply intentional. Let me tell you about a man named Amir. Amir was quiet, focused, a man with goals, but not a man who wore his emotions on his sleeve. He had learned, like many of us, that people forget. They forget what matters to you. They forget your efforts. They forget your pain. So he stopped expecting anyone to really listen, until he met her, Rena. Now, Rena wasn't overly expressive. She didn't flood him with compliments. But one morning, after weeks of them dating, he woke up to the smell of freshly brewed coffee, exactly the way he liked it, and not just the drink. She'd put his mug on the windowsill, the same way he once told her he did as a kid, watching the sunrise with his grandfather. He never asked for that. He never even mentioned it twice. But she remembered. That moment, it wasn't about caffeine. It was about connection. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself in your way of thinking. When a woman loves you, she doesn't need to perform grand romantic gestures. She loves in the smallest, most unexpected moments. She stores parts of you in her mind, not because she has to, but because she wants to. Why? Because your words matter to her. Your stories matter. You matter. She remembers the way your voice cracked when you spoke about your father. She remembers how you don't like too much noise when you're thinking. She remembers the way you light up when you talk about that book you read years ago that changed your whole outlook. And here's the truth. Most women won't remember those things unless they're emotionally invested. Because remembering the details of a man's soul, that's not casual. That's not convenience. That's devotion. And it's subtle. So subtle that if you blink, you might miss it. But those little moments, that's where the real love lives. In silence, in subtext, in remembering the things you forgot you shared. So I'll ask you, has she ever remembered something no one else did? Not your birthday, but your breakdown. Not your favorite meal, but your quiet fear. Not your image, but your inner world. If so, she's not just listening. She's loving. And if she does that often, don't let it go unnoticed. Because love isn't always loud. Sometimes love is a whisper that repeats your truth back to you, so you never forget who you are. 5. She trusts you with her darkness. Has a woman ever looked at you? Not with flirtation, not with admiration, but with that heavy, soul-bearing stare, and said, "I need to tell you something I've never told anyone"? That's not a performance. That's not drama. That is sacred trust. Let's rewind for a moment and talk about Kai. Kai had always believed that strength was about never breaking. He was a builder, a protector, a man who stood tall no matter how heavy life got. And he admired women who seemed strong too, independent, focused, untouched by emotion, until he met Lena. She was strong, yes, but her strength came from surviving storms, not avoiding them. In the early days, she was warm but distant, smiling but guarded, always careful with her words, always steering the conversation toward lighter topics. But one night something shifted. They were sitting on the floor of her apartment, talking about childhood when she went quiet, really quiet. Then with a whisper like glass cracking under pressure, she said, "I've never told anyone this before." What followed wasn't beautiful. It wasn't poetic. It was real. The story of her past pain, a betrayal that left a scar, family wounds, her darkest fears, ones she thought would scare any man away. But Kai didn't run. He didn't flinch. He listened. And in that moment, he realized something powerful. She wasn't giving him a story. She was giving him her unfiltered self, her unedited truth, her hidden weight. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Look well into thyself. There is a source of strength which will always spring up if thou wilt always look. When a woman loves you, she doesn't just give you her beauty, she offers you her brokenness. She reveals the parts of herself she hides from the world. The guilt, the shame, the anxiety, the trauma. Why? Because she believes you're strong enough to hold her without dropping her. And make no mistake, this is rare. Most women walk through life with armor. They've been judged, dismissed, misunderstood. So when she chooses to open that vault of vulnerability, it's not weakness, it's a declaration of trust. A woman in lust will show you her body, but a woman in love, she'll show you the darkest corners of her soul. She won't just smile in the sun, she'll cry in the shadows, trusting you'll sit beside her, not fix her. So I'll ask you, my friend, has a woman ever given you her unspoken fears? Have you ever held space for someone who needed to break? If yes, cherish it. Because when a woman shares her darkness with you, she's not trying to test you. She's letting you in, past the surface, past the smile, past the mask. And in that silence between her tears and your presence, that's where love becomes real. 6. She sacrifices comfort for your well-being. Has a woman ever chosen you, even when it cost her something? Not when it was easy, not when it was fun, but when it hurt, when it meant stepping into discomfort, even pain, just so you wouldn't be alone in yours. If yes, then you've seen a rare kind of love, the kind most people talk about, but few actually live. Let me take you into a true story. There was a man named Theo, quiet, ambitious, with fire in his eyes but a weight on his shoulders. He had a dream, a job offer in a city far away, one that would finally give him the platform he'd worked years for. But taking it meant starting over, alone. When he told his girlfriend Mira about the opportunity, he expected her to say, "We'll figure it out," or maybe, "I hope it works out for you." Instead, she packed her bags. No hesitation, no drama, just 6 words. "Your growth is my home too." That's not infatuation. That's not codependency. That's sacrifice born from love. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." And for Mira, her comfort, the life she had built, the friends she knew, the city she loved became the very thing she was willing to give up, to walk alongside the man she believed in. Now let's pause and really feel that, because most people won't sacrifice for you. They'll say they support you, but when it means less convenience for them, they disappear. But the woman who loves you, she sees your future as her mission too. She'll wake up early to help you prep. She'll go to events she has no interest in, just to support your hustle. She'll stay up with you when you're doubting everything, and whisper, "You were made for this," even if she's tired beyond words. Not because she's weak, not because she's losing herself, but because she knows that real love isn't built on comfort. It's built on commitment. Comfort says, "I'll be here if it's easy." Love says, "I'll be here even when it's not." Now ask yourself, has a woman ever sacrificed her peace for yours? Has she ever taken a hit not because you asked her to, but because she saw your purpose and said, "Let's go"? If the answer is yes, you've been loved in a way many men never are. And if you've never felt that, don't settle for less. Because the woman who chooses discomfort for your well-being, she doesn't just love you, she believes in you. And that belief, that sacrifice, that's the kind of woman who can change a man's entire destiny. So how do you know if it's real? Marcus Aurelius spent his life preparing for adversity, but also training his perception. If you are pained by any external thing, it is not this thing that disturbs you, but your own judgment about it. So ask yourself, is she simply around, or is she engaged in your life? Is she supportive when it's easy, or when it's hard? Is she helping you feel bigger or quietly making you feel smaller? The truth is, the strongest expressions of love are quiet. They show up in how she looks at you when you speak, how she stands beside you when others walk away, how she gives without needing to be asked or thanked. That's the kind of love Stoicism teaches us to value, not because it flatters the ego, but because it fortifies the soul. So don't just chase beauty, don't just settle for attention. Look for the woman whose actions whisper what her lips may never need to say, "You are my chosen one." If this video resonated with you, subscribe for more Stoic insights into love, power, and relationships. Drop a comment below. What's one quiet act of love you've noticed, but never acknowledged? Until next time, be strong, stay clear, and love wisely.